everybody. Today we have with us Dr. Naresh Trehan, Chairman and Managing Director, Medanta Heart Institute. The topic for the discussion is on the second surge of COVID cases. Welcome to the show, Dr. Trehan.
Good afternoon.
My first question to you is, why are the cases of COVID increasing?
Well, it's a multifactorial. And first of all, it's not really a surprise because this is how the virus behaves. And what has happened is, in the meantime, because of the fact that we have been through it for the last full year, and we were beginning to see the numbers coming down, that people felt a sense of relief from that COVID fatigue they had, whether it's call it cabin fever. So the fact that they were locked up, and so under so much pressure for such a long time, people kind of over-relaxed. So they threw caution to the wind, and basically marriages started, functions started, and then on top of that, you see the elections have come, Kumbh has come. So all these factors, what they have led to is that there has been a huge interaction between people in crowds without the proper COVID behavior. So with that, of course, that is one reason for it. The other reason is basically we still don't know whether the mutation in the virus has actually increased the propensity with which it spreads, and that is it spreading much faster than the first wave did. That's what it looks like right now, because we have exceeded numbers of last time. The daily spikes are much higher. So I think it's a great matter of concern. The exact 1, 2, 3 is that this is multifactorial.
How can we protect ourselves from the second wave?
So there are only 3 ways we can do it right now, the way it is. And the fourth I will discuss later. So the first thing is that people should immediately, very seriously go back to the COVID appropriate behavior, which is those 3 things we have all talked about through the last year. You can intensify your effort, increase the distance, improve masking. If you're going into a dangerous area, maybe you can double mask, wash your hands, sanitize them. So all these things is that as an individual level we can do. The second we can do is to say detect, so that detection can only be done by testing. So intensify testing, tracing like we did the first time, and then also isolate and treat. So these 4 things will have to be done. But the most effective thing that we think that will happen is the vaccination. So vaccinate is what we have been saying all along. But that is something that needs to be done as fast as we can. Now, when you say can, means it's basically the limitation today is the availability of doses. Now, as the supply of vaccine becomes more and more, the facilities on the ground to actually deliver it to the patient, inject them, is all there in place. So we can go up to 50, 60 lakh jabs a day. But unfortunately, there is a shortage of supply. So if we can, the faster we can vaccinate, the faster we will reach herd immunity. And that's the ultimate weapon that we will have against this virus.
And since the board exams are around the corner, what should be done to increase the immunity of the kids? Because they will be having offline exams.
You know what? It's too early. Wherever there has been opening of the colleges and interaction with the kids, it has led to many, many cases multiplying. So I think we are not ready yet. If you can do it offline, that's fine. If you have to delay it by a month or 2, that's also okay. But because life is more important at this stage.
And what can be done to increase the immunity of the kids? Because now the kids are also getting affected with a lot of schools opening up.
Yeah, so basically the principles are the same, that you need to have your immunity boosted. And that immunity basically comes by exercise, muscle strength, and nutrition. Basically, those are the 2 tenets. Of course, then we discuss about vitamins and stuff like that. Yes, it helps. But the basic thing is your body should be strong enough to actually ward off or fight a virus when it enters your body. But then if the virus is everywhere, your immunity will be overcome. And what will happen is that will the children, when it comes in numericals, will it be less sort of invasive to them? Will it affect them less than it does the older population? This is yet to be seen. But yes, more and more kids are getting infected.
And how are the symptoms different as compared to the second wave as compared to the first one? How is it different?
So the initial impression is that the intensity of this is less to the patient, in the sense that the symptoms may be less, but its ability to spread is much more. So the R factor, which we have all talked about, the fact of each virus, how many per person can one person infect, that is higher. It's maybe twice as that of the previous wave. This happened, by the way, in the Spanish flu time also. It was noticed that the second wave was much more sort of contagious. So contagiousness is more, but the intensity of illness is less.
And what if somebody already has some a disease, say a heart disease or a cancer patient? What can be done about it?
So when we say comorbidities or multiple morbidities that somebody may have, so the score goes up higher as long as with age, with the number of problems you have. Like diabetes is one of the major factors. Lung disease is another major factor. Heart disease is another major factor. Cancer is another, because in cancer you're already immune compromised. So these are the 3-4 top of the mind comorbidities which can actually complicate the matter further. And if you have more than one, it makes it even worse. And if you are much older, yes, it does. So all these factors do play a role. And that is why we say that people who are elderly, comorbidities, should of course be extra careful, but also they are the reasons why, that was the reason why they were delivered the first jabs. Because of the fact that the higher you are at risk, the more you want to protect those people.
The intensity is less, but the way it's spreading, it's faster with the second wave. Should going to restaurants and gyms and other public places be avoided?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wherever you can avoid a social interaction, you should. You see, eating is a very vulnerable spot. Because when you eat, there are 4 to 6 people on a table, you all take off your masks. So even if one of them has it, there's a half an hour, 45-minute interaction, and then the chances of everybody else catching it becomes very high. So I think that one should avoid sitting on an indoor table for dinner with outside people who you are not spending time with on a daily basis. Second, that whenever you go out or you do go to visit somebody, 4 to 6 people sitting 2 yards away, 6 feet away, in the open is still as safe as you can be. So I think that if you do use common sense in this whole thing and you follow the guidelines the way it has been said by everybody, that's the best protection you can get. But keep your mask on as much as possible and avoid situations where you are interacting with people without your mask.
And if one gets COVID already, and what are the precautions she should take post-recovery?
One of the disturbing facts is that some percentage of the patients who have already had COVID, including the ones who have had a vaccine, and people who actually did not have COVID but have been vaccinated twice for the 2 doses that they were supposed to, X percentage of them will still get another infection. That means that what we are noticing, that maybe 5-7% will get reinfected. But the good part is that their intensity is less. So the hospitalization in these people has become uncommon, you can say. So it's not very common, but it does not mean that you have immunity because we know when we talk about efficacy and all that, we know that X percent of the people who have been vaccinated and Y percent of the people who have already got it can get reinfected.
And does the vaccine actually protect against the newer strains? How much does it protect? You said that the intensity will be less, but how much does it protect?
The data is not clear. It is in the works right now, unless we have a body of evidence to suggest whether the new strain is the one that is guilty or is it not related to that so much. The fact is that we also don't know today whether all the new mutations are actually vulnerable to the vaccine. Are they controlled by a vaccine? Are they susceptible to the antibodies that we make from the vaccine? Now, this is something, the question is wide open. There has been a lot of concern, and collectively around the world, there is data being analyzed, the genetic material is being analyzed to see what is the pattern that emerges. So it's a little early for me to say what the role every variant is playing, but certainly there is huge amount of caution for that.
Vaccine uptake still sluggish. When are we going to develop that herd immunity and everybody is willing to take vaccinated? We see not many people are not willing to take the shot.
You mean the vaccine hesitancy is a phenomena which, people, this is an information age. And information has found multiple ways to be spread. And in some areas, there is no responsibility for the information that you put out. Now, keeping that in mind, a lot of people do have that fear that is it going to do me more damage than good? So this question has been floated. And when you read about maybe somebody got complication in Germany or in another country in Europe or US, you start getting a little scared. And that's why one must look at two things. One is, what is the risk-benefit ratio? So if you look at the vaccines we have done now over 8 crores in this country, so we have our own data, that the side effects have been extremely low. I can tell you about Medanta. Medanta itself we've done over 25,000 vaccinations and 6,000 were our own healthcare workers. So in those, what we have found is that only less than 1% ever had any reactions. And that also meant fever, meant like body ache, meant like some two people of our own employees had some allergic reaction, which was like even delayed. They had some swelling in their ear, a swelling on the face, but they responded to anti-allergics very quickly. So there has not been in our experience. And Medanta is actually vaccinating over 1,500 to 2,000 a day in one hospital. So the point is that when we have so much body of data ourselves, we can say with confidence that we have not seen it. Okay. Does data coming out of any other country, can it be extrapolated for India? We don't know. The second thing is that so far, there has been very little established correlation between any vaccine and any serious side effect. So this question came up of thrombosis. So does thrombosis happen in society normally? Yes, it does. So if you follow millions and millions of people, there will be heart attacks, there will be other diseases that develop, but they may not be related to the vaccine. So the data is not clear. So I go back. So what I'm saying is that today there is very scant evidence to say that there is actually serious side effects created by the vaccine. Because when you follow millions of people in a regular follow-up state, enough people will develop strokes, thrombosis, heart attacks. So all these things will happen anyway, and people will die also. So the point is that it is important to correlate that did that complication be a consequence from the vaccine. So till that is established, the alarm should not be ringing like it is on the social media. So that's why people do hesitate. And now we have enough experience here also. People who should have gotten it, unfortunately did not, had hesitancy. Now they've got sick and landed up in the hospital or in the ICU. So there's the other side of the coin also, that there are enough people suffering because they didn't take the vaccine. So our opinion right now, and including you've seen all the senior doctors, all the senior leaders, they've all taken the vaccine. And you know that if something bad had happened to any one of these people, you would know. So I think it's a misplaced concern about not taking the vaccine. So I would urge everybody should take it. The complication rates or side effects are extremely rare. And you should, of course, that's why it was recommended that we stay in the hospital or your vaccination center for at least half an hour to make sure you didn't get an acute reaction. So all these things have happened, enough experience and enough evidence that even if people are getting it after the vaccination, it is much milder. So with all these benefits, I think we should settle that issue for all.
Thank you for coming for the show, Dr. Trehan. It was great talking to you.
Okay, thank you. My pleasure. Okay, bye.